These people are being told that their genealogy does not link them or their families to any of the Indian ancestry.
Keep your eye on the issue here. The issue is that the individuals in these groups do not have Abenaki ancestry. They have great stories.
Who determines that?
Because I've actually
Who determines that?
I
Say that.
actually did the genealogies of every single family that they claim in their own documentation. And there's no Abenaki ancestors. That's it. That's the story. You had a flawed process that recognized people who have no Abenaki ancestry, and now you have individuals who are upset because of that, because there's a possibility that that truth will come out. But that was never part of the process. I have all of the documents. You can access them yourself. This is a serious problem that you've engaged in.
Native Americans were reclassified as negroes due to bureaucratic policies, the one-drop rule, and eugenics-based efforts to erase indigenous identity. The one-drop rule classified anyone with even one ancestor of African descent as black, regardless of their Native American heritage. Administrative convenience and state policies, like the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, also contributed to this misclassification, aiming to simplify records and erode tribal sovereignty. Many Jews from Spain and Portugal were sent to the Americas, and some were reclassified as Negro due to colonial race laws and associations with Moorish ancestry or enslaved labor.
When Iberian Jews and conversos, new Christians, fled the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisition, some immigrated to the Americas, but many were deported as a punishment. Under colonial era race law, these Iberian groups were sometimes classified as Negro or mulatto due to their association with the Moorish ancestry, skin color, or status as enslaved labor. They were forced into slavery if they didn't convert to the new form of Christianity, which was white Jesus. The Spanish Inquisition forced strict purity of blood status. Those with Jewish, Moorish, or African ancestor were systematically marginalized, heavily taxed, and prohibited from migrating to the Americas. The conversos and Moriscos. To evade persecution, many Jews and Muslims converted to Catholicism, becoming known as conversos or Moriscos. Despite converting, these groups were still viewed with suspicion by the Crown and Catholic society. In Inquisition and colonial shipping records, the boundaries between indigenous Iberian people of color, North African Moors, and Jews blurred because many of these communities intermingled prior to their expulsion from Europe. Iberian colonial officials often lumped all non-white or suspects non-pure Christians into broader rationalized categories such as Judaeus Moros, Jewish Moors, or Negro de Agro, Morisca. Deportation to the Americas. St. Thomas in West Africa. In 1492, Portugal expelled many of its Jews and also deported thousands of Jewish children to West Africa islands of St. Thomé to be baptized and raised as Catholics. Many of these descendants were later absorbed into the regional African population or caught up in the transatlantic slave trade. You can't make this shit up. As the transatlantic slave trade developed, many Sephardic Jews migrated to the Americas as merchants, but others arrived as indentured servants, exiled heretics, or enslaved individuals. Upon arrival in places like Brazil, Colombia, and the Caribbean islands, some crypto-Jews were denounced as local inquisitions by their rivals and forced to integrate into the enslaved or lower social classes. Once forced into a lower echelons of colonial society, official records often generalized their ancestry, registering Jewish refugees with varying degrees of African and Moorish ancestry discriminatingly as Negro or mulatto.
Many African Americans with Cherokee heritage settled in Indiana, particularly before and after the Civil War. They migrated as individuals or in family groups, rather than as tribes, and were often free people of color or descendants of those formerly enslaved within the Cherokee Nation.
Let's go down to the origin of the concept. The origin of the concept, the idea that the Native Americans, including Cherokee, descended from the 10 tribes of Israel, which there are 12, is a historical concept. right? A historical concept, meaning throughout the years of history, they've been saying that same thing. It's a historical concept. It was heavily popularized by European explorers, traders, and Puritan ministers in the 17th and 18th century, such as English trader James Adair, who sought to explain the origin of indigenous people through the biblical framework. Genetic data. Modern population DNA studies have been conducted in several Native American groups to test if there's a Middle Eastern connection. According to mainstream genetic and encyclopedic research in the Wikipedia Jewish Indian Theory page, these studies have found no DNA evidence supporting an Israelite or Middle Eastern genetic origin for Native American population. Let's keep reading. With some independent researchers and private DNA projects have claimed to find Middle Eastern markers within certain Cherokee families. Let's keep reading. Mainstream scientific and anthropological consensus attribute these rare occasions to intermarrying with European colonists. They're saying that they are the Israelites, but they're saying that it's just because they married Europeans. But Europeans aren't Jews, though. They aren't the Israelites. They're Jewish. They're converts.
Most Jewish converts come from Ashkenazi bloodlines. By definition, converts to Judaism have no prior Jewish lineage. The percentage of Ashkenazi Jews in the world refers to the demographic distribution of those born into Judaism, not the origins of converts.
By definition, a convert has no pre-existing Jewish lineage, while Ashkenazi Jews make up roughly 80 to 90% of the world's Jewish population. All right, they're converts. They're not the bloodline Jews. This percentage refers to the global demographic distribution of people born into Judaism, not the origin of convert.
The Khazar ruling class started converting to Judaism in the 8th or 9th century, with some historical documents suggesting the transition began around 740 CE under King Bulan. The Khazars and the Eastern Roman Empire were close allies for centuries. They recognized each other as great powers and maintained a strategic partnership based on mutual defense and trade.
Shared enemies. They frequently teamed up to counter expanding Arabic caliphates in the 7th and 8th century and successfully checked Islamic expansion in the Caucasus. This is when they moved into the Caucasus.
The Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, had strong ties to the Caucasus. They used the region as a buffer zone and trade route against other powers, including the Sasanian Persian Empire. This connection led to the spread of Christianity and influenced the culture of Armenia, Iberia, and Caucasian Albania. The Romans officially moved into the Caucasus Mountains in 65 BCE, when General Pompey the Great conquered the Kingdom of Pontus and annexed the western Caucasus territory of Colchis, turning it into a Roman province.
So let's go down a little bit. 591 CE, the Byzantine Eastern Caucasus. Following centuries of proxy wars against Persia, the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire officially divided the Caucasus territory, with the Sassanid Empire solidifying Roman administrative control over the mountain passes like that name right there.
Yes, the people of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, would be considered Caucasian or white by modern standards. Ashkenazi Jews are generally considered Caucasian today, but this classification is based on their European ancestry and evolving social ideas, not any connection to the Khazars.
I found this interesting. Let's read. Anti-Zionist groups promote the theory to argue that the Ashkenazi Jews are simply European converts with no ancestral, historical, or indigenous connection to the Levant. The theory is frequently used in anti-Semitic circles to frame Jews as imposters or parasites who falsify their heritage to invade other nations. Let's keep reading. Historically, the medieval Khazar Empire, a Turk group, right, which they are, did have a ruling class that converted to Judaism. However, modern historical and logistic analysis confirmed that the Khazars never migrated in masses to Eastern Europe to form the basis of the Ashkenazi population. Man, these people want to hide who they are so bad, but you can't do it. The Most High said in these last days, Babylon, your skirt will be lifted up.
Known about Khazar history. The Khazars were a diverse group, not a single race. Arab historians describe the ruling elite, sometimes called the White Khazars, as having fair skin, blue eyes, and red hair. The link between the Khazar Empire and red hair comes mostly from old stories and travel accounts, not from current genetic studies.
Doesn't that sound like Genesis 25, Jacob and Esau? The first came out red all over and hairy like a garment. And they called his name Esau, wasted away is he. Let's keep reading though. Let's see these accounts. Let's check out the Arabic account, Arabic Chronicles. In the 10th century, geographers, that name right there, described a distinction between two groups of Khazars. He noted that one group, white Khazars, had fair skin, blue eyes, and red hair, while the other, black Khazars, had dark complexions. Historians debate whether this was an actual genetic description or just a traditional Turk way of dividing noble rule class of commoners. Medieval European lore. In the Middle Ages, Germanic and Central European folklore feature tales of Dairot Juden, the Red Jew. You can't make this shit up, man. These legendary red-haired tribes believed to be hiding in the Caucasus Mountains. You can't make this up, man. Come on. Generally associated with the Khazars. You can't make this up, man. This myth later to become interwoven into European stereotypes that associate red hair with Jewish populations. You can't make this up. These people are the devil the Bible speaks about.
Intermarriage between Cherokee people and Black Americans happened historically, but it was uncommon and discouraged, particularly after the tribe adopted Euro-American laws and slavery in the early 1800s.
Intermarriage was occasionally practiced. When epidemics or wars severely reduced village population, some Cherokee clans adopted runaway or freed Black individuals, integrating them into the tribe. However, even in such era, such unions were not the norm compared to Native European intermarriages. But let's keep reading. Wealthy Cherokee mixed blood leaders began to adopt the American way of life, including the ownership of enslaved Black Americans. Look at that, Caucasians, including the ownership of enslaved Black Americans. Because of the pressures of assimilation into white American culture, the Cherokee Council formally outlawed interracial marriage between the Cherokee and enslaved Black people in 1824. But let's keep reading. The Cherokee Nation abolished slavery and was forced by the U.S. government in the 1866 treaty to grant former slaves known as Cherokee freedmen citizenship and property rights. While legal barriers failed, social stigmas remained, and marriages between tribal citizens by blood and Black Americans were still frequent.
The Igbo people from southeastern Nigeria were significantly affected by the transatlantic slave trade, with an estimated 1.4 million captives transported between 1650 and 1900. They primarily went through the Bight of Biafra and greatly influenced the demographics and cultures of the Americas. The Limba people, who are from northern Sierra Leone, were affected by the transatlantic slave trade between the 16th and 18th centuries. Many were captured and sold through places like Bunce Island and were taken to the Americas, particularly to the South Carolina and Georgia colonies. The Limba are a Bantu-speaking group in southern Africa with traditions similar to Judaism, including ritual practices and a possible connection to Jewish ancestry through their male lineage. While they have Semitic and Jewish roots, they are not universally recognized as part of the mainstream Jewish diaspora due to differences in how Jewish identity is traditionally passed down, and because many practice other religions.